Why the cockroach startups will beat the unicorn startups this year. Next on An Acquired Taste. Several years ago, I read an article that was talking about the benefits of building a company that was more like a cockroach than a unicorn. Can't remember the author's name, but the basic point of it was a unicorn is a startup that has $1 billion valuation. You can get there a couple different ways: massive contract revenue, a lot of financing. Some VC comes along and just bestows a huge valuation on the company, whether it deserves it or not. There's a couple different ways to get there, but once you're $1 billion company, you're considered, in colloquial terms, as a unicorn. The author was talking about, and I thought this was really astute, was everybody else. If you think 1,000% of startups ever get to even flirt with the idea of becoming $1 billion company, that leaves the rest of us to be something other than unicorns. Now, his extreme example was the opposite end of the spectrum, which is if billion-dollar companies are unicorns and they're well-funded and they're off to the races and they have all the resources they need and all the money they need and all the staff they need and product and technology and all of those things. Well, the opposite end of the spectrum is a company that's acting more like a cockroach, that's just trying to make it through the day, make it through the week, through the month, maybe through the quarter if they're lucky, trying to make payroll, trying to close that first deal, making sure that your tech doesn't completely suck. Real basic stuff, survival stuff, like a cockroach. We've had these companies in our portfolio. One that comes to mind, and I won't name the company because I don't want to hurt the founder's feelings by calling their startup a cockroach company, but I mean that as a term of endearment because that company should have died 3 or 4 times, but like a cockroach that couldn't get killed and would survive a nuclear blast, this startup figured it out. The co-founder left, and the other co-founder had to take over as CEO, which was not a job that he had signed up for when he decided to co-found this company, but immediately turned into what I would refer to as a wartime CEO, just triage and making it through the day and trying to put one foot in front of the other, and solid leadership and good direction, solid strategy, started focusing on business development as a core target for the company, start bringing in that revenue, start adding logos. They overhauled their customer care, client care, and kind of their retention efforts. The retention efforts weren't great. Churn was a problem. They decided they didn't have the staff that they needed, so they decided to start using board members as kind of fractional help. I mean, every one of the board members, myself included, we have a background in business, and those backgrounds vary. Some of us have a finance background. Some of us have an operational background. Myself, I have a huge sales background. So we all started working with the CEO as, de facto executives. I started working on some of the sales and business development stuff. Other board members started helping them figure out their projections and pro formas around financials and banking and all the things that they had to do to keep the lights on, and utilize that resource and those resources as free labor, because he knew we had a vested, literally and figuratively, interest in making sure that the business succeeded. He also did what I thought was really important, which was distinguishing signal through the noise. It's very easy as a founder, especially a founder under duress in a company that's struggling, to see every input as valid and important, or every data point as crucial. And he did a really good job of understanding that that's not actually the case, that most of that is just noise, that there's a signal in there somewhere, and it's probably in the aggregate of the noise, but you can get too distracted by the individual noisy parts of your business and miss the signal altogether. And he usually was able to find that pretty fast. And one of the ways that he did that was he focused on the customer itself and their target market. What was the customer asking for? What did the customer need? That started to be the basis of how he developed his feeling about what the signal was through the noise. So fast forward, and as I said in the beginning, this company should have died 3 or 4 times. Not only did it survive, but the trajectory has improved massively. It's now about a $7 million a year business. It is on its way to becoming a $10+ million business. The board has never been more supportive of this company and the CEO and the team and organization that he is building. Great investor support from new investors, and they're kind of off to the races. So what do we take away from that? My big takeaway, and what I think any founder, any business owner listening to this should think about, is you're better off building a company that's resilient and survivable like a cockroach than you are trying to chase this idea of a unicorn company, especially right now if you need to fundraise. Just a quick time out to ask you if you'd please hit that subscribe button. 88% of people who watch our videos are not subscribed to our channel. So if you want the latest on startup news, technology, innovation, or even just business discussions, click that subscribe button. Promise to give you some good content. 1 long form video a week and several shorts along the way. Hit that subscribe button. Help us reach our goal of 5 new subscribers every single week. Thanks so much. Fundraising is tighter. People are expecting the dollar to go farther. They're expecting founders to be more capitally efficient. They're expecting founders to be able to make something out of nothing. Whereas in the days of the unicorn, let's call it 2020, 2019, 2021, they were just raising money like crazy and burning it, as fast as they could raise it to try to create these growth trajectories that are not necessarily sustainable. We've seen a number of them crash and burn. They were, at one point in time, unicorn companies, but they've kind of come back down to earth because that wasn't sustainable. Their business model of spend, raise, spend, is, I think, kind of in retrospect and hindsight, obviously unsustainable. Conversely, you see a lot of companies that struggle for years and years and years, and then they finally have a breakthrough. We have a number of those in our portfolio. I just gave a kind of a detailed example of one that figured out how to be the most resilient version of itself possible. So being that capitally efficient company, being that resourceful founder, understanding what you need to do to get to the next milestone, to make payroll, to get that next big hire, to close that contract that you really need. I want you to think about what makes you resilient. Number 1, be frugal. Don't spend money you don't have to spend. I say that out loud because I think we miss it sometimes, and we miss it in weird ways. For example, when was the last time you went through your credit card statement as a founder and looked at everything that's a recurring charge on a monthly basis? My guess is you haven't done it in a while because you've been busy. You're doing other things. But I think if you did it, you're going to find a bunch of things on there that look like subscriptions to trade publications you don't read anymore. Maybe it's an app that you thought you needed that you don't use. Maybe it's something personal that you didn't even realize was on the card. Go through those things. Do those basic steps. Take those basic steps to make sure that you are being as frugal as possible, because that stuff does add up. A couple $100s a month over the course of the year is a material amount of money for a company that's trying to just get one foot in front of the other and make it through this quarter, maybe through the year. Focus on your core market. Do not chase vibes. You do not have the opportunity to do thought experiments around your marketing efforts, right? You want to do A/B testing? Cool. Do it, but do it fast. Do it cheap, right? Don't bet the farm on something just because you read an article about what somebody did somewhere else in a different company and it sounded cool. You don't have that margin for error. So focus on your core market and your product. Don't get elaborate. Don't get exotic. Don't try a bunch of risky things at this stage. Stay the course. Always have a medium-term strategy, even if you don't think you can follow through on it. If you stay in the day-to-day, week-to-week, month-to-month mentality, you're never going to get out of it. And you're going to make decisions based on that short time horizon. And that short time horizon is not going to allow you to grow into the future in a meaningful way. If you're doing that, you're playing a short-term dangerous game of just trying to get through and just trying to maintain, and there isn't a lot of growth trajectory in that behavior. Don't worry about what other startups or founders are doing, what they're raising, how they're spending their capital, what newspapers they're in, or what articles are being written about them, or whatever that looks like. Do not get in the trap of trying to measure yourself against someone else for two reasons. One is 9 times out of 10, some real degree of all of what seems great for them is bullshit. It's fabricated. It's exaggerated. It's not what it seems. It lacks context. All that is shiny is not gold. So always remember that. And the second thing is, very rarely is your set of circumstances or your context similar enough to another company for that to be a fair comparison. And I'll throw in a third one, which is it's just a waste of time. Focus on your business and do what you need to do. So what does this all mean? You can go and try to be a unicorn in a $1 billion company. And if you decide to do that, I hope you win. For the rest of us, let's just keep moving forward. Let's think more like cockroaches and less like unicorns. Let's survive and advance. Let's get the things done that we need to get done. Be a good, solid, capitally efficient, resilient, gritty, resourceful company, and good things are going to happen to you. Hope that helped. See you next time on An Acquired Taste. As always, like, comment, and subscribe.